Adesso cambiamo, rimaniamo sul tema delle città, andiamo dall'altra parte del mondo, quindi dalla parte in Cina. La dottoressa Dai Gowen, che è la direttrice del centro di cooperazione internazionale China Eco-City Academy ed è la Deputy Director della European Commission Link, e quindi un'esperienza di cooperazione tra Europa e Cina. I temi dell'intervento sono il water management in Chinese cities, policies and cases. La parola è alla dottoressa Gowen. Prego, dottoressa.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for staying here. I'm too short for this, apparently. Yes, thanks to Armenia-Romania region that I got the chance to know different inputs and knowledges from different parts of the world, from California in the morning, from Italy, from Israel, etc. Very happy to hear that. And I'm going to bring you something that you might not know regarding China. Just a quick introduction of myself. I am working in a EU-funded project that is called EC Link. It's called, in full name is Europe-China Eco-Cities Link Project. It's supposed to bring in European knowledge from the best practices, could be academic knowledge, could be practical knowledge to Chinese cities in order to promote cooperation between both government and also enterprises. What we are doing here is we selected 10 pilot cities. If you see the two orange ones are actually the comprehensive pilot cities, and the other 8 are supposed to focus on different sectors. One of the cases that I'm going to introduce later is one of our sector pilot city. And the sectors that I'm referring to is actually these 9 sectors. As you can see, I highlight the water management. That is the key words today. But actually, the water management is related to all the other 8 sectors. So what I'm going to do introduce is 3 parts. One is what is actually happening from the policy perspective in China on the topic of water management. Second is the institutional arrangement regarding it, very briefly. And third is the practice, what is really happening on the ground. And when you talk about China, when you think about water with Chinese life or human settlements, and these are the pictures that is very typical to represent what is there in our minds. These are the Chinese paintings from a Chinese artist, Wu Guanzhong. And you can see in the traditional Chinese city, we have very close to small little rivers. We always live along the river. And these pictures are what I took from last week before coming here. We were doing another research project for Suzhou. Suzhou is also a water town, historical water town. This is from the downtown of this metropolitan city. So luckily we reserved the downtown area as it was in the past. And this is Hangzhou, not far away from Suzhou, also in the Yangtze River Delta, not far away from Shanghai as well. The wetland is very close to the city center as well. And luckily, again, it was reserved because the government started to realize that the value of environment, of water life. And then if you see the down right picture, that's actually not a resident house anymore. It was transferred into some kind of a hotel, elite hotel, I would say. But that was in the past, in the traditional era, and that was kind of romantic, kind of organic, and also definitely resilient. When we come to a modern era, it's totally different. Sadly, it's rational, it's not romantic, it's not that resilient. I took these 2 pictures. One is from the Marina Barrage from Singapore. It's actually quite a good case regarding water management or flooding management, but it actually constrained the water from the city life. And from the right side is Wuhan, also a mega city in China, along the Yangtze River Delta. It's the, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the second biggest city in China by population. The riverbank has beautiful planned landscape, but keeps the people away from water. And this is what happening 6 years ago in the downtown area again in Beijing. This flood by heavy rainfalls actually killed 79 people within one night. And some of them are even killed within their own vehicles, with their cars under some tunnels. And so this really rang a bell for the government that we really should do something regarding water management. This is another picture showing the water pollution in an inland lake, Chaohu Lake. What we are doing right now, these are all the challenges that we are facing. If I try to summarize a little bit, we are facing a lack of water resource. There's urban flooding, not only because of the urban planning infrastructure, but also because of the climate change, which U.S. government is still denying. I'm happy to hear from the California speakers that they are still holding on to it. And then there's a lack of institutional innovation. We are still stuck in different sectors, different departments that are only in charge of their own, have their narrow minds and only in charge of their own responsibilities. And then we're lack of the awareness of water scarcity, because we are always educated saying that China is a big country. We have lots of natural resource, and water is not really that little, like that scared. And then we have water pollution, as I showed you, and also last but not least, we have less market involvement in the water tariff system. If I give you an example, we use the tiered system for the water fee. For the first tier, we actually charged for every cubic meters of fresh water, we only charge something about 9 RMB, that is €1. So it's very cheap. And even for the highest peak, that is 15 RMB, that is €2, but very few citizens will use that much of water. So luckily, we are facing a kind of a change of paradigm or norms from, I would say, 5 or 4 years ago. Before that, we would call Ministry of Environment and Protection as a ministry without teeth, that they cannot punish them, they can just only point towards them. But now we have many directives and policy from national level that is enhancing on urban planning, urban construction management, and environmental protection. If you see closely, these are the different sectors, different targets that we have set 5 years ago, that we are supposed to reach that much by 2020. And the most important thing that is related to water management is the drainage management. Is supposed to be have the 100% drainage management by 2020. That refers to not only the cities, but also the suburb areas, which is quite ambitious targets. And then I list all the policies regarding the water management. I didn't translate all of them, just to show you that if you see from 2012 or 2013, many policies, regulations, directives are issued from the national level. As you know, China is a very centralized country. And so because of the centralized political system, now the governments on the local level are really pushing forward on environmental protection and try to save the environment. And these orange ones that I highlight are the ones that are really matters. One is the so-called National Action Plan to Tackle Water Pollution. That is what we call the water, 10 water articles, that it gives very detailed restrictions on the water management. And also the guidelines on lake governor system, the guidelines on river governor system. That is more about institutional design. Because we are a centralized country, and then once we have grabbed the key person in the system and appoint them as the so-called river governor, and we can actually, he can actually do something regarding the river. And today I'm going to talk a little bit more about sponge city. And during launch, some others asked me, what is exactly the sponge city? I would say it's similar idea of LID, low impact development in US, or nature-based solution in Europe, the similar idea. It was brought up by the political leader, President Xi Jinping in 2013. And then gradually it was operationalized into different policies, directives, and objectives. And then from 2015, 16 national pilots were selected. Later on, another 14 national pilots were selected. They were selected and got all the financial support from the national government. The support varies depending on their size, the city size. We have almost like 400 to 600 million RMB per year. But they are actually under high pressure with all the support from the national government, because after 3 years, actually that is this year, they will have the final exam, final evaluation, see whether they have achieved their goals. And in order to operationalize all these ambitious goals, we try to establish a kind of institutional arrangement. First of all is the organizational structure. If I take the sponge city as an example, there is always a leading committee, so-called, that could led by local political and governmental leaders. And then it consists of different governmental officials from all the different departments that are relevant. Usually it will be led by urban planning sector or construction sector or water management sector, but actually it also is relevant for the transport, environmental protection, etc. And then beneath of it, we establish a task force is in charge of the daily management, is so-called Sponge City Management Office. And then to implement that, we have established this implementation institution, that is the orange, yellow part. You are supposed to be operationalized into different process. When you are transferring the land ownership, you are approving the project, you are planning the project, and then also approving the project when it's finally implemented. And then for the incentive part, we have created some parts so-called financial support. We encourage the PPP, public-private partnership model, and try to attract more market force into water management, and also some tax reduction, etc. Last but not least is the assessment system. There are always some KPI system that after a certain period of operation, there are more and more national supervision from the national ministries. I was told by some cities last week that they always receive national supervision group enormously once every week at least. And practice. I'm going to show you very quickly two cases. One is about the new city district. It's called Xixian New District. It's not far away from Xi'an. That is the Asian city that most of the tourists, foreign tourists would visit. It's right next to it. This orange box is Xi'an, the Asian center, and the orange part is the case. The land area is 882 square kilometers, very big. It's between two municipalities, and the construction area is actually much less. It's 272 square kilometers. And as I said, they always start with a KPI system, and this is the KPI that are relevant for water management. So they divide it into two parts, that is water resource utilization and water environment protection. Then they operationalize to a next more detailed indicators, these 4 indicators, and then set up a more quantitative objective. We like quantitative objective because it's easier to evaluate. Then, in order to reach that indicators, and here are the master plan and the sector plan and the detail plan that is related in order to achieve those quantitative objectives. And then on a spatial level, I'm an urban planner. On a spatial level, they propose 4 levels of planning. One is residential area, the one is road, And third is landscape. 4 is more like in the Central Park and green belt. If we see it one by one, on the residential area, they want to collect the water, the rainfalls through, say, a rainfall garden, a rooftop garden, etc., and then flow it into the central part or into the drainage system. This is what's happening over there. These are the rainfall garden in the social housing community. Second is in the road system. I don't need to explain too much, it's self-evident. And this is what already has been built up. And as you can see, they have moved a little bit further that they want to also think about the different combination of all the plants, plant species, so to make it as not just functional, but also as a landscape. Thirdly is in the green landscape. They have, these are the green roof in the I think is the office area, and also rainwater garden. If you see there during lunch break, there are many people actually are enjoying themselves in those area. Fourthly is the Central Park and Green Belt. In the urban design, they made all these Central Park and Green Belt along the whole district. And so far, the first phase has been completed, as you can see in the other pictures. So to conclude that actually after all this has completed, it can reduce 60% of the volume of runoff and extend the recurrency period of rainwater from 2 years to 3 to 5 years, but this is not very impressive. Okay, that is new area. I'll try to be quick. The second case is the existing downtown area. And Zhenjiang is also not far away from Shanghai. It's in a historical city. It locates, if you see the red spot over there, it locates in the green zone of the National Rainfall Runoff Control Map, which means that you have to control the runoff rate between 70% to 85%. That is quite ambitious. So they have made a great master plan. I want to highlight that that's the only Chinese city so far that has finished 100% retrofitting the whole downtown area. And there are different problems for not just water management, but also parking system, but also a landscape system. Then they propose a conceptual design. It's actually quite a small project, so they want to use this project as a showcase. So they propose all these section design of the community road. They also set up the objectives to improve the drainage system so that they can face or endure a 30-year storm event, and also reduce the total suspected solids by 60%. That is also quite high. And then if you see the picture on the left, it is indeed quite an old neighborhood. It was built in 1970s. And then before doing the real project, they start to do some bottom-up approaches. They talk to the communities. They do a field trip several times in order to have a tailored approach for this community. And then, and this is what is on the construction at that time. If you can see, the buildings there are still quite old. They try to replace the pavement of the road, replace the whole parking system. And this is what is looked right now. It's not that fabulous, but for this kind of old neighborhood, it provides enough capacity to flood, to rainfall. And this is what happened before. It always get flood because of the it's quite low area. But now this is what happened. I think last year, no flood at all. So far for that, I just want to highlight that China is in a great move towards a kind of a resilient city, and I'm very happy to hear what you said there. Actually, I know a bit about this 100 Resilient City project. There are 3 Chinese cities over there, but I didn't hear too much from them, at least from your website, so I would expect more from them. Thank you.